Yo, what's up? It's your boy, Josh Lloyd. Guys, NBA first look for DraftKings for Wednesday. 10 games on. I don't know why I did that intro, but here we are. Let's take a look at the 10 games. Before I do that, though, knock yourself out hitting that bell down below. Hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let's get stuck into it. First game, Nets, Pacers. Nets only 3.5-point favorites here on the road. No Kevin Durant, no Blake Griffin, of course. The Pacers have welcomed back Karis LeVert against his old team. The total here, 232 and, no, not and a half, just 232 points. So, what are we looking at value-wise here? Miles Turner is down at 5,900. Centers, we know, generally do pretty well against the Nets. Turner's averaging 33 over the last 5. Absolutely no reason at that salary not to use him. The 6'8 for Karis LeVert is probably a little bit high. If he plays 33 minutes, I think he can do it, but I'm not sure he does play that many minutes, so that is a little bit risky for me. While James Harden at 10.9 is pretty much a guy that we throw in there every time. Under 11,000, James Harden is very, very tough to pass up. The dude's averaging 67 points over his last 5. Sabonis at 9.4, he gets the Brooklyn center bump as well. There's obviously a lot more than spending up on Miles Turner, but still some good value there, while Kyrie's at 9,100. And I'm not so sure about Kyrie at that salary. McConnell, we're fading him. Justin Holiday, we're off him as well. Jeff Green was big last game, and at 4,200, there is upside there. But if there's one thing that Jeff Green isn't known for, that's consistency. So he's likely to do nothing in this one. While Brogdon at 7,200, actually like Brogdon at 7,200, that is a very cheap price. He probably should be more like an 8,000 guy versus a 7,200 player. So yeah, some value developing there for Brogo. The second game we take a look at, it's the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers, the Philadelphia 76ers. The Bucks are 5.5-point favorites on the road. The total's 236. No Joel Embiid for Philadelphia as a good option here in this one. Tony Bradley will get a start. Most likely Dwight Howard in the mix there too. Bradley is at $4,000. Good numbers. Good numbers from Bradley there at 4,000. I think there's good upside to use him. That's more what I'm trying to say. I'm just tongue-tied at the moment. 4,000 for Tony Bradley looks all right to me. You got to like Yanni at 11,000. He is just rolling, putting up really good performances. 76, 70, 59, 58. Love using Yanni. In fact, building a lineup with Harden and Antetokounmpo is going to look pretty nice as long as you can find those cheapies around the edges. Not that big on Chris Middleton here. I am marginally interested in Seth Curry, who's playing at a high level, getting some increased usage with Embiid out. He's at 5,400, while Tobias Harris, they have bumped him up to 8,400. So that's probably the major thing that sours me there for Toby. I wouldn't be 100% locked in there. Brook Lopez was amazing last game. He is at 4,900. He had 43 points. I don't think I trust Brook to do that, but the dude is averaging 29 points over his last 5. So while I wouldn't say he's completely turned it around, it's obviously at a much higher level than where he was before. So there is some good value there on Brook Lopez. Let us now move across to the next game. We're looking at the Sacramento Kings and the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are 3-point favorites at home. The total's 245.5. I don't know, did Marvin Bagley's injury move the line this much? If so, that's ridiculous. But Bagley will be out. So who will get the start? I think it probably will be Tyrese Halliburton, but it could also be Nemanja Bjelica. Now, Bjelica's at 3,700. So what have they got listed? That's probably a small forward or some bullshit, yeah? I haven't even changed the game over. No wonder I can't find Bjelica in my lineup here. All right, so let's look at Nemanja Bjelica, who is at 3,700. Good opportunity for him to be a 20-point player here. That makes sense to me. Beal at 9,300 also looks pretty good against this Kings defense, while Richaun Holmes absolutely rolling at the moment. No Bagley, maybe no Whiteside. Holmes, 58 last game, 40, 38, 39. At 6,700, there is unbelievably safe floor with huge upside. Halliburton's at 55, and he has really struggled since he's returned from injury. We've seen that in these games. I don't mind him as a GPP guy, but I'm not totally in on it. I am in on Westbrook, who is racking up some big numbers. Now, would I prefer Harden and Antetokounmpo to him at the over 10,000 mark? Yes. But we should be able to get 50 plus here from Westbrook. I still think he's in play, just not as good as those other guys. But De'Aaron Fox, he's pushing himself up into almost the 10,000 bracket, 9,200. But that's because he is averaging 51 points in his last 5. Huge usage, good scoring, good assists, really putting up some big numbers. Harrison Barnes at 65, I'm not into. Hal Neto, no thanks. Rui Hachimura is playing well. I don't know that I fully buy it. But at 5,800, I guess you could take a flyer. I worry about a spectacular crash and burn for Hachimura, but I'm not completely ruling him out of being an option. Next game we take a look at is the Raptors and the Pistons. No Fred VanVleet, no OG Anunoby, but Pascal Siakam is likely to return. He is questionable, Siakam, and I imagine that his minutes will be limited as he returns from his COVID diagnosis. Isaiah Stewart's at 3,900. Now, this bloke is basically getting 20 points every game coming off the bench behind Mason Plumlee. So at sub 4,000, he's in play. 20, 28, 22. Like good numbers the last 3 games. He's an option if you're looking for that cheap guy to put around a Harden and an Antetokounmpo. Jeremy Grant banged up last game. He looks to be fine. He's at 7,300. Not a bad option, I think, here at that reduced salary. While Delon Wright at 58 also looks good considering. Of course, we still don't have Killian Hayes, although we could have Dennis Smith Jr. returning. It's unlikely we're going to have Wayne Ellington, who's doubtful, and Rodney Magruder is questionable as well. So if both of those guys are out, that means we could get some Smith-Wright combinations, which really does help Delon's value. Kyle Lowry's up at 8,600. I would fade that. I'm not interested in Sadiq Bey either. And 6,000 for Mason Plumlee is too high. And I don't want to use Siakam in his first game back at over 7,000. 7,100 for Chris Boucher is interesting. Now, Boucher's been putting up good numbers, but what does Nick Nurse do in terms of his minutes? Like the minutes and the production have been up for Boucher, but I do worry that Nurse just puts him back to a 25-minute role with Siakam rejoining the rotation. I think there is a risk of that. So that would be an issue, I think, here in terms of consistency. Well, 75 for Norman Powell. With no VanVleet and no Anunoby, I think we can have a level of confidence in Powell still, and he's okay. I wouldn't say he's the best option out there, but he is still pretty good. Next game we're looking at is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are hosting the Boston Celtics. Back-to-back for Boston, so don't expect Kemba Walker to play. We don't know that for sure, but don't expect Kemba Walker to play. No Tristan Thompson, also most likely. He's in the health and safety protocol, so Daniel Tice at 4,100. Solid game on Tuesday against the Jazz, and now him and Rob Williams basically just get to share those center minutes, so he looks to be an option. You could look at minimum salary Jeff Teague as well, only because he's minimum salary and Kemba Walker's going to be out. Teague is one of the worst players in the NBA, but for some reason Brad Stevens will give him 20-plus minutes in this one. I guess you could hedge your bets and go with a superior player and use Peyton Pritchard at 3,200, but I'm not having the hugest amount of faith in Brad Stevens giving him those minutes. Darius Garland at 6,000. I don't feel super comfortable with that, while Jason Tatum at 92. The only worry I have here is it's a back-to-back and it's a blowout risk, so that might just they might just ease off a little bit on Tatum and Brown's minutes. Sexton's at 7,400. That looks all right to me, but one of the better options, I think, is going to be Rob Williams at 5,600. Guaranteed, I'd say 20 minutes. Maybe he pushes to 25. A really good opportunity for him. Well, Jarrett Allen at 7,700. I'll save the $2,000 and take Rob Williams in that scenario. No spread out at this point for this game. No spread also for this next game that's coming up. The Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. The Warriors just keep getting their asses kicked. The Rockets completely undermanned. We don't even know if the Rockets will have a full squad here. Now, there is a chance that Christian Wood returns. There's a chance Daniel House returns. There's a chance Ben McLemore plays, but Victor Oladipo won't. John Wall, he won't play either. Eric Gordon obviously still out. We've got to look at Kenyon Martin Jr., who, again, continues to play well, continues to get some decent production, especially in garbage time. Is he a 30-point player? Perhaps. Good matchup for him. And James Wiseman, who is struggling, but at 4,600 in a game that, again, could be a little bit of a blowout, maybe there's value there. I'd only use him in GPPs. Andy Wiggins at 57. He is struggling on court, but he is still getting minutes, and he is still putting up some okay performances from a DraftKings perspective. I'm not super into him, but he is marginally interesting. We've got Kevin Porter Jr. at 6,800. Now, Porter Jr. will likely get another start, or not likely, he will definitely get another start at point guard, and with Oladipo out, he's going to get increased usage, so a big opportunity there for him. Sub 10,000 Steph Curry always gets me interested, so let's look that way. Well, Jay Sean Tate, the wild thing, 5,400 for Tatey, a great chance for him again with more absences. Now, if Wood does play, he's going to be on a pretty heavy minutes limit, so that $8,500 price tag won't be interesting, but what it does do is it cuts into any value that the general Justin Patton might have, so I don't think we'd want to get too invested in using Big Justin. Next game, Spurs, Bulls. This is a back-to-back for Chicago after they handily beat the Thunder on Tuesday. The Spurs, they'll be without DeMar DeRozan again. The Bulls will likely start Thomas Satoransky again. Not sure about Thad Young, because they did start Wendell Carter in the second half of that game against the Thunder, but Satoransky at 3,800, one of the best plays, I think, that's out there. at that sort of salary, given the minutes that he's getting and the production that he's putting up. I love that. I like Thad as well at 6,000. Not quite as much as Satoransky, but I do like it. Derek White's at 5,400. I'm always going to be interested in Derek White at a price like that, while Markkanen at 58 also looks really strong in terms of a strong floor with a little bit of upside there too. Levine went bananas against the Thunder, and I think there's another good opportunity for him to be a 45 to 50 point player. While Jakob Poeltl, we know centers against the Bulls. We saw Moses Brown do it today. Big opportunity for a 30-35 pointer here from Poeltl, who dropped 41 last game. DeJounte's at 7,500. I'm lukewarm on that one. Keldon Johnson you can take and absolutely not use, and same with Rudy Gay. Gay's been good, but I'm not sure 5,200 is the right area in terms of his salary. Next up, we've got the Charlotte Hornets. They are taking on the Denver Nuggets. In this one, we've got no Monty Morris, no Gary Harris. The Nuggets are 6.5 point favorites, and the total is 231. Paul Millsap will probably get another start. He's at 4,400. I'm not super into him. I am into Will Barton, though. 5,400 for Will Barton. He's playing at a really high level. Great opportunity, again, with Morris and Harris out for him to put up big numbers. 67 for Michael Porter doesn't really work for me, but 10,800 for Big Chungus Nikola Jokic does. On the Hornets side of things, we're looking more at guys like Terry Rozier, but I think he's a bit overpriced. And I also think 8,500 for LaMelo Ball is too high, and 6,500 for PJ Washington. Not a lot on the Charlotte sides interesting me. If there was one Hornets guy I'd take a look at, it would be Gordon Hayward at 7,400, who's putting up pretty good numbers, 37 over his last 5, which is around where it needs to be. The headmaster Jamal Murray at 7,600, only for tournaments, and I am not super interested in him at that price. He is just too inconsistent and in a little bit of a cold streak at the moment, so not massive on that one. Miami and Memphis is the next game that we're taking a look at here. The Heat are 2-point favorites coming on a back-to-back. The total is 221 points. A chance that Avery Bradley returns. We're not sure about that yet. I imagine the Grizzlies make a change to their starting lineup. I think Allen replaces Bane. We don't know that, but we'll see. Jonas Valanciunas has just been dominating, really putting up the big numbers of late. He is at 7,600, Jonas. He's giving us 49, 44. I worry a little bit about the Bam Adebayo matchup for him. So that's caution. 8,400 for Bam is not for me. 78 for Ja Morant is only for tournaments. I do fear a bit of a blowout here. Well, Jim Butler, 9,700 for Jimmy is a lot. Now, he's been playing obviously really well. I'm not that confident in using him at that salary. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Dylan Brooks. This is not a great DFS game, I don't think, especially with that low total of 221. The last game of the day, rematch from 2 days ago, the Clippers taking on the Dallas Mavericks. We don't know whether Serge Ibaka is going to play. If he is out, we are looking really closely at Ivica Zubac. He's at 4,500, and he would be a must-roster player. Marcus Morris also starting at 4,100. I'm in on using Morris at that salary, and Paul George is down at 7,900. Now, George is really struggling, but he can very easily turn that around. I like it. I like Doncic at 10-7 as well. Really good numbers there, but Harden and Giannis still probably two of my higher price guys that I prefer over him. And I think that Kawhi at 87 is very good value at that sort of salary. Reggie Jackson probably makes another start in place of Patrick Beverley, but at 5,100, I'm not 100% in on that. While Josh Richardson at 52 also probably not one that I'm going to get too excited about. That is it. That is the 10 games. So let's talk about where some value lies overall. I'm looking at Satoransky, Kenyon Martin, Daniel Tice, Bielitsa, Thad Young, maybe Jeff Teague, maybe James Wiseman, Will Barton, perhaps Jordan Poole as a $3,500 guy, Brad Beal, Isaiah Stewart, Rashawn Holmes I like a lot, Halliburton, Marcus Morris, Paul George, Jeremy Grant, and Kevin Porter as some pretty good options over there. Don't forget, notification bell, thumbs up, comments below. Check out my channel, not Locked On, that's my podcast, Locked On Fantasy Basketball. My channel is Josh Lloyd Fantasy Basketball. You can find the link in the title and in the description, guys. We're done here. Thanks for watching, everyone. See ya.